I've always been under the impression that open-world Pokemon would fail to deliver. To me, Pokemon worked because of the linear format that exists in all mainline titles to current day. The games weren't masterpieces, but they were simple fun when all I wanted was simple fun. While Legends Arceus doesn't change the outlook completely, it does a fair job at breaking down my point of view. So in case you didn't realize this before, this is a review of Pokemon Legends Arceus. If you enjoy the video, please remember to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. But anyways, let's get into the review. As a fair note, I will do my best to avoid spoilers in this review. I am not going to talk about the plot that much. I'll give a general, brief kind of review of it, but I'm not going to be breaking it down or anything like that. I can't really avoid showing all new forms of Pokemon. That's just not something that I could really do with the footage I was capturing. So you're probably going to see some forms of Pokemon in here that were not advertised with the game. That's what's going to happen. I will not be showing any legendaries or anything like that, so you're okay there. There's nothing to do in an open world except catch Pokemon. And in almost every Pokemon game I play, I rarely even catch half of them. I just don't see a point to it, and an open world with nothing to do is just half of bland, which is blah. Pokemon Snap is an excellent substitute for this concept of observing Pokemon in their natural habitat. And last year's new Pokemon Snap encouraged me to further believe that that was the ultimate way to get that experience. And while I still firmly believe that that is the case, Legends does make a heavy effort to handle the transition to an open world in a fairly smart way. You're now tasked with completing a Pokédex, but this time it serves as a primary way to progress the game. The game shifts the goal of completing battles and earning gym badges to simply completing the Pokédex. And completing the Pokédex and gaining these research levels does fulfill the same role as gaining gym badges. It's a very simple change, but it does serve the same function. And it makes catching Pokemon more of a vital piece of the puzzle than the previous mainline titles did. Now, all of this satisfies essentially the idea of having nothing to do in an open world. The reason I say this doesn't stop me from entirely doubting the fact that an open world Pokemon game just isn't the way I would want the series to go is because I can see this concept getting old pretty quick. Especially if they're going to continue doing the same concept to death, as the Pokemon series tends to do. The game also uses Pokemon as vehicles of movement, from using drier to move faster to using Braviary to fly or glide more like, because the way Braviary controls is a little iffy and I don't really like it that much. There's a lot that's here, but also a lot I didn't wind up using. And also Weirdo just kind of lets you break the game, and it's pretty funny honestly, but also you can get to some unintended areas pretty early, and I don't know if it's actually unintended, but it seems like it is. But it's fun. I like breaking the game a little bit. Pokemon, unsurprisingly, has a habit of playing it safe. This has plagued their games, and while I do have fun in mainline games, there is an obvious fear of expanding beyond their current scope. Or that's what it seems like to me. That aside, catching Pokemon is very satisfying. It's a quick system that's very easy to understand. Now you don't always have to go into battle with these Pokemon. Instead, you can be sneaky and catch them just by lobbing some Pokeballs at them. And some Pokemon, you do have to battle, because it's easier to weaken them in order to catch them, rather than waste 10 to 20 Pokeballs on them. However, it's not always so rewarding. Sometimes going into battle is necessary, and battling is kind of where my main gripe with the game lies. There's kind of a sense of confusion to me when it comes to battles in this game. On one hand, being able to seamlessly transition from exploration to battle is nice. It makes the transition of battling and the interest in battling a lot easier to handle because you don't have to go through a whole quick flash load screen to get to battle. You can initiate fights when you want, which is convenient. However, battling is far from the main focus of the game. That's not a problem, because this game is different. Additionally, the main reason I feel like that battling is a little weird is because I don't understand how defense works in this game, or how any of the stats really work. Sometimes I'll fight someone or something, and it'll deal too much damage to me for a move based on the level that I was. I was 20 levels over another Pokemon. It used Bubble, which is fairly weak, on me for a not very effective hit, and it still totaled out to 30 damage, which is a lot for being 20 levels above, having the type advantage, still took 30 damage. Kind of crazy. The stats feel like they don't mean anything. They feel like they're just arbitrary numbers, and every Pokemon is like equal to my level regardless of where I stand. and it feels like opponents chunk me if I'm not 40 levels above them. I don't know why it happens, but it seems to happen consistently. To me, it makes very little sense. In almost every modern turn-based RPG, level difference hurts damage output a lot. And I feel like in this game, the same rule just doesn't apply. And that could just be how it works. And maybe I'm being too presumptuous in my findings and my beliefs, and I have to accept that this is how this works. But it just feels like the stats really don't matter. Furthermore, sometimes you get locked into battles of 1v some number of Pokemon that noticed you. And while it is an interesting experience and does punish you for recklessness, it's sometimes kind of intrusive when I'm just trying to level 1 Pokemon, especially since EXP tends to not be given until the end of an entire battle. So you can be fighting one Graveler, and let's say there are 2 Geodudes on the side who noticed you, and now you're in a fight with all of them. You are now going to take damage from all 3 of them every turn until you beat one. Now, once you beat one, you don't get the EXP yet, no. You still have to beat the other 2 Geodudes. So if one of those Geodudes kills a Pokemon you're using, congratulations, that Pokemon is not gaining any EXP for the fight. And that's not to say there aren't other ways to level up, but it is a very big pain in the ass, for lack of better words. These strong and agile style moves are a nice touch, as they can be pretty significant changes to play around, but since battles are a lot less common, I don't feel like they were especially prominent. Additionally, agile style is not as crazy as it may seem, as most battles tend to end in 1 to 2 turns, and it felt that more often than not I would just use strong style moves to pass fights, and most fights are not that difficult. But I also had a myriad of foes who just used agile style attacks into strong style moves and would effectively beat out one of my Pokemon very quickly. However, these fights are never that difficult, and I never lost a battle in this, so you can rely on the difficulty not coming from battling. It's just annoying to get 2-turned by a lot of enemies. It's not actually that fun in that regard. But it does happen, and I just accepted that and moved on. For the sake of spoilers, I will only be using footage exclusively from the early game for bosses. Boss fights in this game consist of you dodging attacks and pelting the boss with bombs, while also doing short battles in between when you get the chance. It's a simple system, which while I didn't really love it, I don't hate it either. It's fun, and I'm happy that it's only something I had to do a handful of times, because if I had to do it constantly throughout the game, it would hamper my enjoyment. Just because it's not a especially difficult mechanic, and it's not especially amazing. And I'd much rather just do a turn-based battle against a large kaiju boss fight like the den fights in Pokemon Sword and Shield. That would be up my alley, but this is a little not on something I really want to do that much. It's a mechanic that's not overused, it doesn't overstay its welcome, and that is good. Narratively, this game is passable. It's neither perfect nor awful. I enjoyed it more than any narrative in recent Pokemon games, in recent mainline games. And if you want to look at the list of games that I call recent, it pretty much stretches to anything after X and Y. So anything within the last 8 years, I guess. Not really a high bar there for most people. And I'm not really going to get into the narrative too much, as it does serve a pretty big purpose behind the whole game, and it's pretty predictable. You're not going to find any insanely strong writing that you see in modern JRPGs. It's enjoyable at best, but nothing special. For what it's worth, though, the protagonist does have facial expressions now, albeit sometimes they're exaggerated. It happens a fair amount of times. Just be prepared for that. Moving discussion to my least favorite part about talking about games, the visual. This game was marketed like crap. Visual-wise, the game looks fine. In motion, there's pop-in, and objects very far in the distance will move at a slower frame rate, but to me, it's nothing that's all that noticeable, unless you are purposely focusing on it to showcase how awful the game looks. Legends could look a lot better, maybe on better hardware, maybe with more time in the oven, but I don't think it's that bad. Everyone keeps pointing out this mountain section, saying there should be more trees. And to me, I'm like, it's a mountain. Why would there be an overabundance of foresty looking trees in a mountain? But I don't really go to mountains, so I don't really know how nice they're supposed to look. If they're giant forests on every mountain, maybe I'm wrong. I could be completely wrong, and I'm sorry if I am, but I think the game looks fine. It's really not that bad, especially in motion. The game looks better when you play it. There are noticeable graphical problems here and there, but it's nothing to lose your mind over. Music-wise, there are some callbacks to Gen 4's mainline games, but it's nothing I was particularly interested in. So, music gets a solid okay. Pokemon Legends Arceus is a game about doing busy work. From side quests to finding every Pokemon, to catching multiple of each, and so on and so forth. The game overall is a lot of fun, but it does start to wear on you as time goes on. By the time I was reaching the end of the main story, I was kind of tired of it all. And the likely case is due to how I had to approach this game in order to complete this review. At a steadier pace, I imagine the game is much more enjoyable. I think it's ultimately a lot of fun, but it can get a bit tedious. I think the visuals are fine, the music's okay, the narrative is decent, and by decent I mean it's pretty Pokemon narrative-y. So, is this the next big step for Pokemon? Absolutely. But only time will tell how this pans out. Remember that this is the Pokemon Company. They can do some great stuff, but they can also do some not so great stuff. And when it comes to it, it's very difficult to see how this will pan out over time. I have high hopes that the future of Pokemon is bright, but expectation is that we're gonna see this concept done to death. So, anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I'm gonna start doing arbitrary scores, I guess. These scores will probably change by the time the end of the year rolls around, but hey, you know, it's something for you to go off of. This game's like a solid, I'm gonna give it a solid 8 out of 10. It's fun. It's not the most perfect game in the world, but it's pretty decent. All things considered, it's got like a decent grade. So 8 out of 10. Hope there's more in the future. Also hope the concept's not done to death. I hope they refine it consistently for every entry if they do more entries in this like Legends kind of series. But yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next week with another video.